Yo,
Yo,
yo. How's it going?
pretty good, pretty good. How's my audio? Is it
It's
still
good.
bad?
No, it's pretty good.
Okay, okay, good, good, good. Yeah, not bad. How are you?
I'm chilling. I'm just coding today. Looking forward to Lawless tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Are you going to Lawless?
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good. Alright, cool. So, what's the plan for today?
So, I definitely wanted to talk about Marth Sheik. So I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
look at one of our sets.
Okay.
Um, I wanted to know which one you thought would be more useful to look at, because obviously in the first one it scored me a lot harder, and my initial
Mm-hmm.
instinct was like maybe I should look into like why I lost those sets so much harder. Um, But I was just watching over them, and it kind of feels like the biggest difference was punish game. I feel like I kind of like didn't hit you at all in the first set,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second set I actually did hit you a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think that plays like the biggest difference in this matchup just because that's like Sheik's biggest strength is that Marth can't hit her as hard. So
Hmm.
like any amount of extra hitting that you can do, specifically more than just hitting her more, just like making sure she dies.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Well, the first one's pretty short, so let's just go over that really quick, and
Sure.
then the second one I think is a little longer.
They're both like 7 to 9 minutes, I think.
Okay. All right. Screen sharing.
Yep, is it.
Cool. Okay. So let's see. And like, so first of all, I definitely don't approve of everything I do in this matchup as Sheik. So,
Mhm.
so there's definitely a lot of stuff that I think I'm doing that's not like super optimal or anything.
I feel the same way about how I play this match.
Whoa, I'm getting some. My computer is having some trouble right now for some reason. Okay, so good grab. Yeah, I don't think there's really too much you can do here except try to get like the damage like you were getting, and then go for the up
Yeah,
throw after a little bit more.
I've
Um,
thought about reading the text with down air just to get more off of like the guess because I feel like I'm always guessing.
yeah, I think Kadoran does that a lot at like zero. Like if he
Yeah.
like does a grab, if he gets like this grab, and you're already reading like tech in here and not tech in place, so
Yeah,
like you might as well. I don't know about because of the platform here. I
because
don't
the
know,
platform
but like
exactly.
in a normal condition here, going for like the short hop down air grab is
Yeah.
what Kadoran does because he does the down air grab and then he'll do up throw up tilt and it's kind of like a good sequence.
Do you know if ledge cancel down air works at zero?
What do you mean works at zero?
Like in that spot with the platforms like that,
You're saying
could I
if you
ledge
just
cancel down
jumped
air
and
into
did
down
ledge
air?
cancel down air grab, yeah, I mean if you can hit that, that would definitely work.
Okay.
Um,
I just don't know. I don't know. I'd have to think about it because I know Sheik's like it's like hard to hit her sometimes when she's like balled up like that in
Yeah,
those
this is
spaces.
like a really awkward situation for the like the down air and stuff. In this exact spot, I definitely think the grab was the right option. Uh,
Okay.
but I also think probably I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I think maybe down three again would have been good here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you, what you thought about F throw versus down throw. I feel like my general thought process on F throw versus down throw has been if I can down throw into the corner, I down throw, but if I can F throw and it actually leads to a tech chase, I F throw. Because I got the pummel off, so you were high enough that you were gonna have to tech the F throw. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I F throwed, but maybe F throwing across the stage is just worse than down throwing into the corner.
Yeah, it's hard to tell just because it's such a low percent, and like I get the DI down and away too. Like if I had done a
Yeah.
DI for like the down throw or something, like I just held like
Hmm.
left or whatever, I this would have been like a much better throw. So I'm honestly not super sure what's the best. I think they're all like pretty close to equivalently good. Because
Yeah,
mostly
probably.
you're sort of forced into like a read situation anyway. Like I'm pretty sure you can cover everything out of this in terms of like a read. Like if you just pick my
Yeah.
if you just hard read my option, I think you can get your grab here. I think you can get plenty of stuff here. Okay, so this was good. When you get this, there's a couple options you can do here depending on like uh, technical level that you're doing. Like you probably the perfect choice here is like double jump down air edge cancel double jump waveland grab or something insane. uh, but
Yeah.
like I think the up air is pretty good too. I think going for the fair is just it's not really gonna work against anything here.
Yeah.
The up air is probably like I think I might be able to like tech to the side and slide off here, but on the tech in place, definitely the up air is really really good. And I wouldn't have even brought up that down air edge cancel, but you brought it up here, and I'm like, well, if he's thinking about down air edge cancel, I mean that one's pretty good. What were you gonna say?
That one is good. It's really hard to hit it when you have to double drift because you have to drift to top platform and then you also have to drift back to get off the platform again.
Oh, let's see right here. I would do something where I do like full hop dash full hop right here, and then I would do neutral double jump to double jump straight up and down air, and then I would just do diagonal this way to do that to like sort of like reduce the amount of calculations I'd have to do.
Yeah, that might actually be doable.
Okay. I think you could definitely be a little bit more careful coming down. Like, if you're on this top plat, like right here, and I just like jump up, and you're like dashing around, and I do this full hop, and you happened to maybe dash off this way and get into like this position. Now you're kind of in like an advantage. Whereas like if you just sort of come straight down without any sort of dash dance or any sort of like I think doing stuff like maybe dash dance and then like dash this way, wave dash off backwards or something, so you kind of have your fair here. Just sort of trying to mix up rather than immediately coming down, because like basically from my end what I'm experiencing right here is I'm just like, well, there he is, and like you already short hopped, you don't have like a connection to the platform here, so either like we're trading here or whatever. Whereas like if you're on the platform, I have to worry about, oh man, if I like do these rising aerials, they might get shielded, or you might like slip by me and get below me. Like I think that's something that's really good for Marth. Like you're dash dancing here, and then you light shield, and I push you off, and now I'm on the top plat, and you got pushed like to here, and then you can like run off up air and do like a bunch of different pressure and stuff like that.
I like the light shield idea. I think what happened here was I missed my wave dash.
You missed your what?
My wave dash off. I think I tried to wave dash off to the left.
I see.
And then I was just like, oh, now I'm up here. I don't know what to do. And then I just drifted into you.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're gonna do a forward air this crazy, or sorry, a double jump this crazy, you gotta like attack out of it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like basically it felt like your play out of disadvantage, especially in this set, was like, but it kind of happened in both, is like sort of like overly simplistic, where like when you're in like a neutral situation or like a good situation, you're trying to like think about it, but the negative situations, you kind of just like hold in and stuff and just get hit like a bunch of times. A lot of times the DI patterns against Sheik are like knowing when to hold away and in, and if you hold in, it just makes all of her stuff work. Like the main mix-up with Sheik is like, are they gonna DI away or not? And that's like pretty much her whole like combo game thing. So it's like if you DI'd away on this forward tilt, you're completely safe. Like you're just out of the combo. Yeah, I get my edge guard, and it's still a disadvantaged position, but you're not gonna like keep getting hit.
Yeah.
And then, or this one, you double jump in. If you happen to DI out on this one, you live that. And it's basically like, when you are in disadvantage, you sort of choose when you're opening yourself up to maybe get hit by Sheik. Like obviously you're in a losing situation in general, but like you kind of get to choose when that 50-50 happens of like Sheik hitting you. And if you guess right, then a lot of times you'll just get out.
Right.
And I feel like that's a little bit more like of like an active way to think of the disadvantage, rather than like, I don't know, it just feels like kind of like press in type of like, well, I'm kind of just dead no matter what feeling while I was sort of hitting you. Let's see. Okay, that was really good by you. Like, good neutral situation. And then, yeah, this is rough. You just get reversaled from a slight mistake here. Happens. Can't really do much about any of that. This Nair here, this is sort of like... This Nair wouldn't normally be that bad, but it has... I don't know, it was just like this continuous feeling that, like, if I'm hitting you, you're going to kind of, like, hold in and go for, like, some form of, like, a revenge hit. And I feel like that pattern kept repeating a lot. So when you went for this Nair, I was just extremely, like, ready for it. If you had done, like, double jump, waveland past, and then go in, and, like, waveland past, dash, grab, or something like that, there's just, like, a lot... Like, you need to apply the trickiness you normally use to after I'm already hitting you, and you're kind of in, like, a slightly negative position. Like, you're gonna be in a negative spot overall, so just sort of taking the extra second to stay calm and think about, like, a way to break that flow is a lot of times better than just sort of, like... You kind of end up playing into it by attacking out of that.
That makes sense. I think that's definitely one of my big, like, bad habits that I need to work on.
And then, yeah, this was just kind of like an unfortunate... Like, it looked like a tech skill error with the side B. Like, it looked like you were just trying to do that, like, a little bit lower.
Yeah, I was very surprised that you hit me with a forward tilt there.
Okay, so... Come back. Interesting choices, but... Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, and by this point I feel like you're kind of stuck in like that like Martharitis zone, and it's almost like there's not really any great answers. I feel like that's sort of how, and Falco has some mashups like this too, where it's like you need to kill this character before a certain percent, and if you don't, you basically like flip a coin to like get back in the game, and if you can't, then you just like lose the game. It's just really, really hard to make these like comebacks. I think like definitely getting Sheik, like the way that Sheik is going to lose this matchup is it feels like one thing happens and she gets stuck in the air, and then she gets pushed off the stage into some form of like repeated edge guard, where eventually Marth gets like a setup. Like, you're not gonna get like tipper and neutral very often against Sheik, you know, or something like that. You're not gonna like actually kill her straight up out of like a move, or even like a combo into like a straight up kill move outside of maybe like a down air in certain situations. The majority of your kills are gonna come from like you hit, kind of like how Fox kills Sheik. It's like you get her off stage, let her recover, and then you can set up your tipper or your tipper down smash and stuff like that. So I think like just like super prioritizing that is really important. We haven't gotten to a spot where we can talk about too many examples yet. It's just like my thought process.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
Because when you get to this spot, it's just like, dude, what are you supposed to even like do to hit her with?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Rough position. I just got like a super hard... I got like a lucky hard read there. I just like super hard read that.
Yeah, you did.
And then, okay, and then got the read there.
For some reason on FD, the neutral felt really hard. A lot harder than any other Sheik I've played.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so for this thing, I think that, like, I basically think that it's okay to up tilt here. I think, like, the up air feels very, like, ideal because you have the most frames after the up air hits. Like, you hit it, you land, you have a lot of frames to, like, control the situation and set up for forward air, forward smash, and nair forward smash, and all those things that may potentially actually send Sheik off stage. But the issue is the number one priority above having, like, you know, it's like a priority, like, pyramid or something. And it's like your priority above landing the perfect up air is not getting reversaled. And even past not getting reversaled, your priority is to keep Sheik in the air. And this was actually a mistake Zane kept making because he was choking against Jmook, if you watched Collision, was that he was like, no, it has to be the up air. And it's like, why does it have to be the up air? Like, the up tilt is pretty good. Like, if you miss this up air, Sheik a lot of times does, like, she double jumps, she sees you missing this up air, she'll just fast fall immediately after this, which is what I did. And it's because it makes the timing awkward. Like, if you do this up air, you're like, up air, and I know that when you land out of this up air, doing another up air again is just like a really awkward timing to try to make sure you don't like trade or anything like that, which is why I went for this. But there's a lot of Marths that are good at this matchup who just do the up air, and then they're like, well, I'm not going to get the ideal up air out again, so I might as well just like up tilt, and then if I make any form of like gonna reversal you decision, I just get up tilted here. And then out of the up tilt, kind of like in this earlier spot, like out of this up tilt, sure, you don't have, like, it's not as nice as if you landed like a perfect landing up air here, but she's in a spot where you have enough time to at least cover her fall with the up air. So it's like, out of this position, if you get an up tilt on this down air, now I have no double jump. And this is like the ultimate reason why this stage is so rough for Sheik, is that it's like you can either keep getting juggled or you double jump, and now like that's it. Like you're dead pretty much, because Marth is just gonna get up tilts and up airs and then forward air you off into something, forward smash or whatever, or up B. And then what's up?
So the big reason why I guess I really want to go for the up air is because I've been playing Sheiks recently who will do wiggle out air dodge when they're coming down.
Mm-hmm.
And it has always felt like if I go for an up tilt and they go for a wiggle out air dodge, I basically have to like hard raid. Like it's basically like a 50-50, or like maybe even worse than a 50-50.
Into what though? Like, do they get out?
Yeah, like they just get to the ground.
Maybe. Really? Because in my experience,
right here when you're drifting down, if you instead of doing down air, you did air dodge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like up tilt can cover everything.
Okay, in my experience, this is what happens against the Marths who are good at using the up tilt there, is they'll do the up tilt and I air dodge, and they just grab me, like after I land. And then they just up throw me again, and they do up throw up air, or they just literally like repeat the same sequence, and it feels like I'm like trapped in this like infinite loop.
Okay.
Where I'm never gonna get down. And the thing is like, remember, you do want that up air. Like, you know you want the up air because it's the best. But when you can't get the up air, the up tilt is like basically like reversal proof. And especially because you're on the ground, you can like up tilt and like hold down, and if I like tap you with the back air or something, you're in a great position. Whereas if I tap you with an aerial on my way down and you're in the air here, a lot of things could happen out of that. So it's not as much about like the up air not being the best option. It's just that like there's like a priority list, and
right.
as the Sheik, getting like you hitting me with the up air or maybe me getting a reversal is like infinitely better than like I can't get down ever because Marth just does the stupid up tilt. Even if it's not quite as like directly effective, it's better overall, at least in my experience. As the Sheik, it feels awful.
Maybe that's like the big thing that I need to like I need to be comfortable just grabbing them, giving them their jump back. I think whenever I get Sheik in a juggle situation where she's used for double jump, I always hyper focus on the option that like puts her back in the air without it.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I just need to like bail out, or like, yeah, that makes sense. Like up tilt and then grab instead.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, because that's how it's like the opposite from the Sheik's end, where like from the Sheik's end, you're just trying to, like, what's the best way to describe it? Like, it's basically like you want nothing more than to not let Sheik touch the ground, and all Sheik wants is to touch the ground. And so, like, if you over prioritize on like exactly what you want, then Sheik can like plan more counterplay around it. But I don't know, this situation comes up a lot with Falco, where I just tell people to like maintain their advantage position. It's kind of like when like Falco has Marth in the corner, and I just tell people like literally just keep him in the corner. But everybody wants to be like, well, he's shielding in the corner. I have to like go in with this nair and like make use of the fact that he's shielding in the corner. And it's like, no, the fact that he's terrified and wants nothing more than to get out of the corner is your advantage. Yeah. So like the fact that Sheik is like, I need to get down to the ground because they're gonna kill me. It's like against like okay players, Sheik being in that position just means a kill. But against the good players, Sheik being in that position means they're going to do everything possible to avoid your perfect position, and that is your advantage. That they're so limited, they have to play, their entire like brain is focused on avoiding this one crucial problem, and that makes them like bad, like easy and predictable to beat, basically. And so it's like you obviously want your best case where Sheik loses her double jump and then you kill her, but like you also need to realize that like when that doesn't happen, you can still just maintain your advantage state. It doesn't need to be like a negative state now that your perfect state didn't work.
It kind of reminds me of Marth versus low tiers a little bit, actually.
Marth versus low tiers, though, you said?
Yeah, because I feel like every time a Marth plays against low tiers, we focus super hard on like walling them out and making them feel like their character just cannot play the game against you. When like
definitely
that just makes you super predictable. Like I think that's kind of like a low tier thing in general. People are just like, my character invalidates low tiers. They don't get to play the game against me. But playing that way kind of just like makes it way easier for them than if you just actually play the game against them. If that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's definitely like a comparison there somewhere. Like I definitely see what you're saying, or why it reminded you of it. Okay. And you also have to think of like how it feels for the other player. Like, I don't know. There's an interesting dynamic on both sides of this matchup where like as the Sheik player, when you are recovering against Marth, like you're off stage and you are forced to recover on the stage, if you don't think about the Marth's perspective, every time they hit you off, you're just like, dude, no, I'm just gonna be on stage for the next half hour and they're gonna keep hitting me off and like eventually I'll die and like there goes my whole stock. But then when you think about what the Marth is feeling, then you're like, oh man, Marth has to react to all these different like recovery positions every time, and they have to like figure out the right move, and if they mess up once, they get like reversaled, and it sort of like changes the perspective under which you like recover. And I feel like you can think about the Sheik perspective like a little bit more in regards to like that juggling thing and just like the way the Sheik is feeling of like Sheik is not a lot of times gonna die instantly, but she has that awful feeling of like, so like I don't know, basically if you can just give Sheik the feeling that like every time Sheik is in a negative position, that position will just basically be maintained indefinitely until she's dead. It's a little bit better of a mindset to take it from, knowing how like frustrating it is for her to get like looped on, basically. I don't. Let's keep looking at what happens here. Okay, so yeah, this is like an example of that situation where you do this, and I would have gone for the exact same thing again to catch your up air here, but you went for the up tilt and you mistimed it slightly. You definitely need to do it a little bit earlier, and it for sure catches the down air. But even so, it's like still not it's still a pretty good position, way better than like if you had jumped into it and gotten down air. You might have just lost your whole stock.
I think your fast falls threw me off a lot this set. Most of the Sheiks that I play don't mix up their fastball timings at all.
I see. I took it from Jmook. I definitely should be back airing there instead of the down air though. That's such a bad habit. But yeah, no, I mean it makes sense. Huh? What's up?
The downer works way more than it should.
One more time, sorry.
The downers when Sheik is doing that like high downer coming down, it works way more often against Marth than it should. It feels like because the move is negatively disjointed, like it should just lose every single time, but I get hit by it way too often.
Yeah, I think it's just like the way he like reaches his arms up when he does his like up moves probably just gets hit in like weird ways by her foot.
Yeah.
Okay, that was really good. Like that double fair, that was super super good. This was another thing is that I did notice. There's just sometimes where you like make it really really obvious that you're not going to ledge. Like even if like I basically think you should just go to ledge and then like get off ledge and space your tipper, and it's like, well, it's fast, and it's like, yeah, but it's just better.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just better to literally like react to where she is and hit her off, because there's definitely points where like I can kind of get a feel for like, oh, he wants to like get good spacing on the stage, and then like the ledge just becomes safe when it should just never be safe. Like I should just be like in a loop basically no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this was good. Like good general ground spacing. It's really tough at like 0. I think at low percent, the low-ish percent, I really like Nair a little bit more. Specifically, like to try to catch the Sheik in the air. Because I think if you catch Sheik in the air with a Nair at like somewhat low percent, it can end up really good for you.
Yes,
and I think that like, I don't know, some Marths are just really good at like making me feel that if I jump, I'm in danger of a nair at any point, even if they're not like directly nairing me, like at all times.
What do you think they do to make you feel that way?
I think they try to catch on to like the rhythm that I'm using to kind of like jump in space, because like there's a lot of times where I'll kind of do like short hop. Like, Sheik does this sort of, like, short hop aerial, like, rhythm a lot of times where she's trying, like, just by the nature of her short hop, it takes a while to come down. And so it's sort of like a somewhat large commitment for Sheik to short hop. And so a lot of players kind of have preferences for, like, the ranges and stuff that they short hop. And sometimes I feel like I'm against, like, a Marth where, like, they are just really ready to, like, grab me on the ground. And then I'm like, well, I'll just jump to, like, watch where you're gonna dash dance, and then I just get naired into like they'll literally just do like nair forward smash and then edge guard perfectly or something like that, and it's like that's a whole stock just because I jumped like one time.
I like nair up to
yeah, like for example, like right here, sometimes like there are some Marths in like a position like this, for instance, who would do like dash forward instant nair. And then, you know, let's just say they catch me out of this and they get like nair up till something. They get something big out of it. So I just think like the threat that if I jump at low percent, I might get put in like a really bad spot is a good, like Sheik just needs more things to threaten her. Because I feel like the problem is that like it's one of those situations where like if your punish game doesn't line up correctly, then the other player doesn't play correct neutral. And so it feels like because I'm not being presented with these potential ways that things could go wrong, like you're not making it very obvious to me that I could get naired out of the air and maybe literally die out of it, or that one grab could be death by like a 60-second loop. And, like, by having those things, your dash-in baits get stronger. I'm a lot less willing to jump right in front of your face at lower percents because you might just, you know, nair me or whatever. And I think that, like, basically part of why I think the neutral was strong for me in this spot compared to, like, maybe if I play Zane on this stage or something is just because, like, I feel like I'm not really looking out for anything. Like when I was playing, I'm not really like, what if he hits me with this? And I wasn't even thinking about like what moves you might hit me with. I was just like, like if I just kind of swing at him, inevitably like he's not gonna hit me as hard as I'm gonna hit him. And that was basically like my mentality. But like if the Marth is really really good at hitting this stuff, like Kadorn's playing really on point or something like that, I need to like kind of second guess my movements a little bit more. And it just, like, improves the neutral game from Marth's end a lot more. Because, I don't know, Marth just relies on having threats. Like, more, like, he doesn't, like, I don't know, like, Fox, you don't need to feel threatened by Fox to get nared by Fox. Like you could not even see him coming, you can get nared. But a lot of times Marth needs to kind of like control his opponent, and like he just doesn't solve things like with a big hammer. He has to be a little bit more roundabout than that. And if you don't have like strong conversational tools to manipulate your opponent's movement and like the way they're playing neutral, then he's just kind of like not a very strong character. And I think that's part of his character that Sheik takes advantage of, and so it's like you have to just be extra good on that and like from that angle of play.
One of the things you said earlier about like catching on to like the rhythm of Sheik's jumping, do you feel like that's something that you do a lot like in most matchups, or do you think that's something like catching onto a player's rhythm?
What do you mean by that?
Because I asked how Marths make you feel like they're always going to nair you if you jump, and you said that they kind of like catch on to your rhythm, and they kind of like present that threat, and so you were always kind of like worried about it. Do you think? I guess I'm trying to understand, like, are they actually understanding when you're going to jump and reading you more often, or is it just that when they do nair you out of the air, like semi-randomly, they just punish you really hard, so you're afraid to do it?
Yeah, so it's like more the second one.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that like if a Marth can kill me out of the nair, I have to be like, is this jump timing really obvious? And that like extra calculation makes things way more in your favor because I'm second guessing myself. Right. And
that
like, yeah. No, that was a good question. And yeah. I am pretty sure that you can SDI up on the needles and grab at you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But that's a cool thought. Maybe not in this exact position, like from this up B, but on some of these for sure. And I think sometimes you can get it just by ASDIing up, but not all the time.
Okay.
Like this one, if you SDI'd up, you definitely would have grabbed the ledge though. So I think you can like jump and like tap up sometimes. Haven't labbed it like a lot though. I've definitely seen it happen. Where I needled the Marth, I'm like, haha, and then they kind of like pop up a little bit from the SDI, and then they just grab the edge.
Which makes sense.
Okay, and then I feel like I remember this game being sort of like a wash. I kind of want to get to the next.
It was a 4-stock, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was it's like kind of the same game as the previous one. Just
and I felt like it in that game in particular. I definitely felt like it was kind of like, I don't know, everything just sort of built up to that point, and it was like, he kind of needs to like reconsider what he's doing to even, like the set felt like it was over by that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I think if you're gonna make this jump choice, probably the instant nair is a better choice.
Oh, is that not what I did? I thought I tried to nair you there.
No, you didn't. No, you did a nair, but it was like 5 frames late. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like 4 frames into your aerial that you start nairing. So, and that's the only reason why I hit you. It's just that the nair was late.
I don't think I've thought that much about trying to practice like straight up instant nair in a short hop. So maybe I'll start practicing that.
No, really, really good. It's especially good because it like increases your ability to like react to situations with the nair. It's just reacting to situations with nair means literally nothing against space animals, and that's probably why you haven't learned it that much yet.
Maybe, yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I think I also might have tried to jump at you from too far away because of the forward smash thing. Like even if I do an instant nair there, I'm not even sure that the first hit comes close to connecting with you. Just feels like you're super far away.
My brain is telling me you hit me with the nair there, but it could be, I'm not sure exactly. But I think something like nair forward smash here, and I'm already off stage, and then grab edge, and I have to air dodge on, and then double jump down.
Do you think forward smash is good there instead of just like doing an up tilt or something?
Um, I don't know. I'm like big edgeguard pilled like in this game, just in general, like across the board. Um,
Hmm.
just because like I just think it's really important to make your opponent feel like they're gonna die if you're in a spot where you could make them die. I
Hmm.
think it like gets their adrenaline pumping and like kind of makes them like afraid of you in ways. So I think like
Hmm.
putting me into a situation where I'm at 10% and then I could die like after the forward smash, you do get like a read possibility with a down air to like, I have to recover vertically at some point, probably. So you're probably going to get like one possibility to down air me and get like an early kill. And like, I'm sure different Marths have different opinions on this. From my experience, Zane is like the exact opposite, where he just always believes in like the long combo against
Hmm.
like every character. But that's just I don't know. That's just like not the way I really look at the game. Like I forward smash as Falco in combos like way more than most other Falcos too, and it's just that I think like the damage in the combo, like every time I hit someone with a combo, there's like another chance that they can do like a quadruple SDI perfect reversal on me. And like I would much rather just put them in like a negative position and be like, if I read you, you die. And
Hmm.
like Leffen said this once, and I thought it was like really really good. And it was just that you can't expect to kill a good player without reading them. And I
Right.
think that
Sure.
that's actually such a good like point that like going for the long combo, it might in your brain be like, oh, this is guaranteed, but it's like, dude, nothing's guaranteed against a good player. Like even after you do the long combo, you're still gonna have to read them to get to get like a kill most of the time,
Hmm.
and it's just like a good rule of thumb. And so I think like, let's say you hit me with an up air and another up air and another up air, which is good if that's what you have in that situation. But like, let's say you hit me with like five up airs, and then I eventually somehow get like an air dodge back to the stage, and I'm at 105%. It's not very good for you. Versus like you mess up and you forward smash, or you hit me with a nair and then you forward smash, and then I get back and I'm at like 35. Your chances of like killing me out of the next opening you get when I'm at 35 is, especially for Marth, like higher in certain cases, because like at like 105, you don't have a single like down air combo or anything like that.
Hmm.
I just like to look at um like I like to look at the game in a way that like you want your like super thing. Like every character like wants their rests, because it's like if you get your rests, then like you're like if a puff gets two rests in a game, their chance of winning that game is like massively higher than a game where they got no rests.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so like my first priority with every character is like, man, if I could find a way to get a couple rests this game, then that would be great. And so I don't try to like, I don't know. I'm just very like edgeguard pilled. I'm just like, I'll have to read them anyway. And if I read them right now, they died from one combo at 30.
Hmm.
But it's definitely like a preference thing and like a philosophy of playing kind of based.
I think in every other matchup in the game, I hard agree with you, and this is the one matchup that makes me kind of unsure, just
I
because of like,
agree that it's fairly ambiguous.
yeah.
Um, I, in some ways, I feel like it's almost like that Falco Marth type of vibe where like Falco getting like an early down air kill on Marth feels like unreliable, and it feels like you shouldn't really play around it. But then if you don't ever play it, like it's like man, comboing Marth into a down air, like that's so inconsistent. But then like every set you watch where Mango beats Zane, it's because he got like two early down air kills, and like
Yeah.
every time he doesn't, and he plays these big long stocks that are like correct or whatever, he just like eventually makes a mistake and loses or something like that. And so it's
That's
like
fair.
if the matchup is already like we know it's a disadvantaged matchup, and so
Mm.
like landing like an early kill out of one hit of a combo just can be like a big game changer. I've just noticed that
Hmm.
against Kadoran, where it'll be like I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning, and then one game he'll just get like down throw off the stage at zero, wave dash off, double jump down air, and like read me and just kill me instantly. And it's like, oh, that was like a huge game changer. Like, and then like the next game, maybe he's playing around that threat more, like he's moving in a way. Like, I don't know, what if I just throw you off and down air you? And then that like it kind of ties into the other thing I was saying, where it kind of like I basically think that like both are really good, and you don't want to get too stuck in like hard relying on the one that just seems more solid from the get go when the other one just straight up like takes a stock.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a really good point. I feel like
Oh, definitely
a
could
lot of the things that you have said kind of make me realize that like I feel like the way I've always kind of been playing this game is like basically as like a puzzle game. Like there's just like one correct solution that I'm trying to find and then like execute and then I win.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is like a player versus player game, and I think based on what you're saying, especially like in this matchup where like you can find the solution, but the solution kind of sucks anyway because the matchup's
Yeah.
bad. Like maybe you just play the player and like make them feel the things you want them to feel, and then win based off of like that type of interaction instead of trying to like find the perfect way to make it like slightly less losing.
Yeah, because if you do all your options perfectly and Sheik does all her options perfectly, you lose.
Yeah.
And like that's just true of any like negative matchup. Like you're gonna win sometimes, but not as often as the Sheik will win. Mm-hmm. And so I think like that's kind of like the way that they sometimes do matchup numbers in certain fighting games, where it's like the worse the matchup is, the more quote like miracle plays the losing player will need in each round to win.
Right.
And so I think in this matchup, playing from behind is like the ultimate suffering. And so I think that especially if you get like an early opening, like stock 1 or something like that, that like getting that early kill off of like a read could be like, you know, set, especially against people who are a little bit more prone to like getting thrown off by stuff like that. Like maybe it wouldn't work quite as well against me. I mean, it still work, but I'm saying against like Nut or something, you could just win a whole set because you win game 1 and it's a close game, and then game 2 he takes you to Fountain and you kill him off your first opening at 0, and then he kind of crumbles, and that's the whole set, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. So right here, I personally think the fair is like incredibly OP here. The up B is also really broken here. But like fair here feels so bad as the Sheik. Like when you get hit by it, like rising fair, falling fair, double jump fair, and then Marth recovers. You're just like, no.
Interesting.
But the up B is really good. The down air is really good, huh?
I've never considered triple fair.
Oh,
double
the triple fair is so friggin' annoying.
That's interesting.
And then obviously this was just like a missed down air. You had it.
Yeah. That was the like, oh, I can't believe that actually worked. Wait, what do I do now?
And then like this is actually a big one against Sheik. Is you need to be able to hit down air, like pivot tippers. Like
I think the down air is just bad there actually, because I think you can tech it.
Yeah, at this percent it definitely is. I just wasn't expecting it. I thought you were gonna up tilt me.
Yeah.
I did not think you were gonna down air there.
Yeah.
But I think that there are situations where you can get a down air, and you just need to be good. It's really annoying because over 100 sometimes like characters go into that spiral animation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? And it's just really freaking hard to tipper them. So, but I do think that like I don't know. I used to play Marth in this matchup quite a bit, like back in the day, and I definitely remember that one of my. It's like sometimes at high percent, it's just the clutch. Yeah. It's just you get the down air and you're like tipper.
I hit one of those in game 2.
Oh, that's sick. Okay.
On FT.
Okay, nice. And yeah, like when you get me into an actual disadvantage and you play it right, I'm just like I'm out of this situation. I'm just potentially dead if you just get your spacing right. You know.
Yep.
So Sheik's recovery is her weak point. Oh. So this is a really good nair. I don't like the jump here. Like basically your options were, in my opinion, to like do something super immediate, like to nair up tilt here, or like dash dance and assume I'm gonna do an aerial. But if I did like an aerial here, this would have just like you would have gotten reversaled super hard.
Do you think the up tilt catches the jump?
I doesn't my intuition tells me in that position that it probably would not catch the instant double jump, but you at least maintain advantage, and
that's true.
I don't know. There's a lot of spots where it's really ambiguous at like low percents in this matchup, as you know. It's just very hard to tell sometimes.
One of the things about nairing Sheik out of the air in this matchup is that sometimes it feels really clean, and I'm like, oh wow, I could hit her with literally anything I want to right now.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it feels really like awkward. I don't know. And that was one of the ones where it felt kind of awkward. I think because I only hit you with like the second hit.
Yeah, I think it was because in my mind, it was because of the fastball timing.
Yeah, maybe.
Like I think it was just that like you didn't get to the ground quickly enough, and so it, like there was no like fast fall here, and so I think you ended up in like a weird spot.
Yeah, that could be it.
I wanted to mention right here this upcoming spot with like the late forward air, and that late forward air should be in there, like this empty hop. This is like useless against Sheik. It's like okay. If you know, you know.
I was talking with one of the Sheiks I've been grinding this matchup with recently is Miyagi. I don't know if you know Miyagi.
With who?
Miyagi. He's a Colorado Fox man who's picking up Sheik for the Marth matchup. And that's something we were talking about extensively. That like whenever we both are like kind of close enough to hit each other, and one person jumps and then waits, and the other person just hits them like almost every single time.
Yeah, jumping and waiting was not very good in this matchup. Is more she can get away with it just because of the needles, but if she's not using the needles, she can't get away with it. Okay, let's see.
I got a bunch of soft.
That's the thing is like, okay, you're gonna miss these, but you just I feel like landing on the platform here was mad greedy. That's all I'll say basically. Is like your primary thing is to not get reversal. Like it's way more important than comboing Sheik is to not get reversal. So if you just do this up air, but you fall to the side of the platform, you can't get reversaled, and if she fast falls correctly into you, it'll hit. But this way you get reversaled, and then it's just you're in a bad spot. And like once again, you go into the corner here, and if you're gonna do an aerial out of the corner, this should probably be a nair. But I think it was a fair. It's hard to tell. No, you actually did nair. My bad.
I think I just couldn't jump in that spot.
Yeah,
like, it was very clear that you were gonna put something there, and then you did something, and
I feel like this is almost like the thing from earlier where I was saying that like when I hit you, it felt like you were kind of like pushing back in immediately. And I could kind of like depend on you pushing back in rather than like resetting here. And I'm just kind of like, well, he'll probably push back in.
Yeah.
Okay. Tech skill. Dude, the stage is so small. Sometimes you're just like, dude, what do you do? It's so tiny. Like the characters are just right on top of each other.
Yeah.
I think one thing though you got to be careful of is that like, you just don't want to be like overly threatened by platform Sheik. Like you have to remember that this is an advantage for you. Like you basically weren't playing this situation as if it was an advantage for you. You like swinging to try to like catch Sheik here. It's just the same thing again, where it's like, yeah, catching Sheik is good, but not getting reversaled is way better.
You
so
think
you I think you're just like overcommitting here, trying to like catch Sheik in a negative position that like right there. It's like, dude, like Sheik. You just don't want to be reversible. So if Sheik goes to the platforms, which is like if you look at it from my end, it's like I went to a negative position, which is theoretically bad for me, and then I immediately went from top to side plat in like an untricky way, which was also not a very good decision, and I got a hit out of it. So like, you know, if if you're doing the right things, I shouldn't be able to hit you by doing multiple wrong things in a row.
That makes sense.
And that was definitely... There's a little bit of like an energy flow issue in this matchup, and it kind of relates to what I was saying before, like the pushback thing. It's kind of like... What's the best way to describe it? I think you could get a lot better at kind of getting a handle on when Sheik is like pushing in on you. It's the best. I'm trying to think of. It's kind of something I've seen this whole time, but I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. Like, it's kind of like if like a puff. Okay, like imagine like a puff is kind of camping you. So you get really into like this safe puff is camping me zone, and then maybe puff starts feeling aggro and starts like jumping in and throwing like, so when puff is playing campy, you're kind of just dash dancing and playing like heavily like reactive. Mm-hmm. And then like if puff just suddenly breaks and they just start, you know, like the Khalid when he's angry, where he just like holds in and like presses aerials on you, and you basically get like conditioned into this like puff is rushing me game. And then like when he switches back to the camping, you don't like catch on quickly enough. And I don't even know why I used puff for this analogy. It just seemed to be a little bit more like obvious in my head. Mm-hmm. But it's like really similar in this matchup, where I feel like you're like, it's like when I'm like pushing and I'm pressing buttons and I'm CCing and I'm walking forward and I'm like trying to hit you and stuff like that. Like, obviously Marth can't just fight that by like doing nothing. He has to like do things. Like he has to throw out moves. But when I switch gears to like slowing down my pace, you like keep that pace going for me. Except like you're not like Marth isn't that strong at it. So I'm like, so you're like, all right, I'm playing my safe neutral. That's how you started the sets out. You play it very like safe with the dash dance, and you're like, you know, you're looking for your cross up on my spot dodge with the dash dance and the grab, like all the really solid stuff. But then like the further it goes, it's like basically I make a bad decision here where I'm not pushing in the way I probably should be. But like now that I've entered into kind of this like stalemate position or whatever, it's like you just keep playing that like hitty fight game where it's like, look, I'm kind of like pressing in, I'm trying to, so okay, this is a good way to look at it. So we're kind of scrapping this stock, and like Marth doesn't really want to scrap, but sometimes he has to. Like you're doing here, I think this is mostly fine. So we're kind of in like this like hit zone, and I think right here you're still doing a really good job of maintaining the control, where like you could have just like landed here and then run in. That's what somebody would have done if they were like fully in that like rage zone kind of. But you're not fully in that. You are spacing. And I'm just kind of continuing to press. This forward smash is when it starts to break, I think. Where you're just like, wait a minute, like we got it, we're in like the hit scramble zone. So now it's like when this happens, so yeah, I'm still pressing. This happens, and it's like now that we're in this position, the scramble zone has stopped. But I feel like in your head, the scramble zone is like continuing, which is what like, look at all these moves you throw out in this like short period.
Yeah. Okay.
Where like I'm now like slowing down. I'm shielding. Watch my actions. So I go here. I'm shielding, shield, full hop, double jump, go to side plat. Like I wasn't doing any actions there. And so when you see that, you just have to make sure you don't like play into what I was just giving you, basically.
Right.
So like recognize when the Sheik has stopped pressing in, you need to also stop and like kind of go back to like your zoning game, which is like generally strong for Marth in this matchup. Nice. Okay, tournament winner. This was... You just read me and I messed up here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. This is like a weird spot. Yeah, I get the read. And then
I was so sure I was getting back there.
This is so unfair. Like, boom, and it's like, nope. It's like, dude, like, just switch characters, bro. Just kidding. Dude, you look at me, I'm just like, look at this, I'm crazy. I'm just freaking out afterward. Wearing the same exact outfit right now.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
I also think that, like, how am I gonna say this? I think kind of ties into the previous point, but I feel like you could be a little bit more okay with, like, dead time. I feel like it, from the Marth end, it might not feel like basically there's just spots where, like, let's just say right here, you don't really know how I'm thinking of this game yet, and so running in with the shield is pretty aggro, but you back off immediately, and I do this backflip back air. So what information do you have so far this game? You have, I did charge needle, and I got you with a little bit, it's fine, you back off, and you got one backflip back air. And now you're attacking. And it's like, wait a minute. Like, you don't even know, like, what I'm thinking. I'm not trying to press in. I haven't committed to needle camping. I haven't started walling aerials a bunch of times. Like, you just need to see what I'm going to do more. And sometimes on this stage, like, basically the easy Marths on this stage, what I'll say is the easy Marths here is I just start the game and I kind of just do needles and, like, jump aerial. And eventually they just move right in and we just start hitting each other and I win because I'm Sheik. And then there's the Marths who, like, I'm sitting over here doing my backflip back air and needle charge, and they're just kind of here, like, yeah. And then I start charging needle, they dash in a little bit, dash away, and it's kind of like, I don't know, what does Sheik have to approach a standing Marth at 0? It's just grab. Like, she has grab and standing needle, that's it. And so, like, you don't have...
Do you think I should, like, shield the needles? Or
shielding or jumping over are both fine. She can't do anything about either one.
Okay.
But my point is that she can't, like, come in and take it from you. Like, you're very safe in this position, and so you have a chance. Like, why isn't the Sheik just running in and boost grabbing? It's because the Sheik is trying to get a feeling for how you're playing.
Okay.
And so basically, you just need to... It's like, if nothing's happening, that doesn't mean you're losing. I understand, like, this is just a weird lesson. This is ambiguous, difficult matchup. but basically, like, what I'm saying is that a lot of times Marths, if you play too passive in this matchup, you will lose. And that a lot of times makes Marths kind of play too fidgety.
Yeah.
And so, like, if the Sheik is doing something, then you don't want to play passive. That's when you want to make big plays. Because otherwise, if you're just being kind of passive and Sheik is going for her big plays, then she'll get you. But if Sheik is not going for any big plays, you don't need to either. You can be very comfortable just kind of like chilling and dash dancing. And from the Sheik end, it's not like immensely comfortable. I want you to try to make something happen. Because I don't know, what's the worst situation you can be in this matchup? It's when you're behind. And it's like, why? It's like, because you need to make things happen. And Sheik just gets to sit there and wait for you. So if we're at an even situation here at 0%, and you're basically just, like, waiting for me, or you're basically like, I'm waiting for you to come over to me, and you just start coming over, it's like you're starting the game a stock down. Not really, but, like, you're playing as if you're already down.
It's kind of like, I'm playing you like you're playing Falco, but you're not. And that, like,
also, I wanted to mention that if 3 needles or less hit from, like, around this range, you can just grab me.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of knew that you could grab sometimes, but I didn't know specifically.
Yeah, like, it's not exact. I just, as the Sheik, I just do that thing where I'm like, if Marth is like running at me and he's pretty close, and I only have three or less needles, I'm not gonna throw it. It's just like a rule of thumb. It's not like an exact thing. But yeah, if you're like running at Sheik and she hits you with like basically like less than half of a full stack of needles, going in immediately with a grab is like a good choice there. And I think Kadoran does a really good job of that. He makes the grounded needles feel not quite as good because I need them to be a lot more charged. Where there's some Marths where like I can single needle them from this range and they're like, ah, fine, you got me, I'll reset.
That makes sense.
I also think so. Okay, let's see. How much time do we have left? What time is it?
It's pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, we're pretty much in an hour. But I wanted to bring up that part of the Nair thing is that, like, how do I describe it? It's like, so what I want is nice forward tilts. I want grabs. I want things at this nice range right in front of me. That's what I would like. And so you can basically dance in and out of that range where like I can't really get a forward tilt or whatever, and I would need to read you with like a boost grab or something to get in. And especially if you're like crossing up and stuff, it's scary to do the boost grab because I might just whiff and then you run over and grab me. Essentially, you can move around in this range, and Sheik doesn't want to use her grounded options because it looks like you're baiting those grounded options, and that can increase her odds of jumping. So there are some Marths who will dash dance really well right here, and then they dash, and it's the same dash that would give you like the cross up dash, and you're hoping I short hop or spot dodge. Like you do this dash through, right? Except instead of dashing through, you dash to right here and then short hop nair, and what it catches is after my forward tilt, because I'm like, he's going to bait out, like, forward tilt range right here. And so I jump back like this. And if you had gone to here, and then you're reading this with, like, a nair, then you get, like, a forward momentum nair, which is even better than the in-place nair, and I'm in the air at low percent, and this is, like, potentially, like, disastrous for me. Like, really bad. Okay. And so that's just, like, I just didn't want to forget to mention it. That's, like, another tool that you can kind of use to, like, manipulate Sheik into these types of situations where you can get those like early sort of conversions.
I'll have to think about that a lot. I feel like I sort of understand what you're saying, and I'll have to think about it and play with it to make it.
Yeah, basically, if you dash dance in front of me for a second, in a position where it feels like you're the mobile one, like I'm kind of stuck in place of Sheik, and I'm like kind of just grounded and stuck, and you're moving around and it feels like you might come in on me, just notice that when you do that, a lot of times Sheiks just dash away and short hop and then do an aerial. Just notice that first, and then eventually you'll start seeing the spots where you can nair there.
Okay.
From the Sheik end, it's definitely a spot where I'm like, I feel pressured to jump because they're like dash dancing right in front of me, and then I jump and they're like nair. And they get me like that.
Okay. That's interesting. Are there any other like deeper neutral ideas that you feel like come to mind that make you like feel like Marth has, I don't know, like tools to kind of like really open Sheik up, or is that like the biggest one?
The nair is the really, really big one. Because if I'm stuck on the ground, we're just in like a dash dance war. And I feel like it's like if the entire game we're playing is the war where I foxtrot around into boost grab and you dash dance around into grab, sure, maybe I hit a little harder off of mine unless you play perfect, but like it's kind of like even. Like they have like really similar movement speed, and Marth has like a slightly bigger grab and stuff like that, and like he has like a better dash animation, and a lot of it basically feels like if Marth can convince me to only play the dash dance game and that's it, that he's like essentially like made the matchup closer to even. That's like the feeling on my end. And so I want to jump to like sort of like diffuse that pressure of like evenness and be like, no, see, I have needles in my aerials and these give me more pressure that makes me like stronger than you. And then that opens me up for the possibility of like getting nared or like hit out of the air.
Okay.
Yeah, but there really aren't that many complicated ideas in neutral because it's really just like beating either you're dash dancing and beating my grounded options like forward tilt, or you're tricking me into jumping and hitting me, or you're getting some sort of like random read into a grab and then just keeping me in the air. It's like a fairly it's like a pretty like repetitive matchup. The neutral feels very simple. Like basically the Marth's goal is to turn neutral into like RPS. And Sheik's goal is to turn neutral into like runaway needle, Marth reaches out eventually and I kill him simulator.
Okay. How do you feel about down tilt to make Sheik jump?
Down tilt to make Sheik jump, it has its uses. I think you can experiment with it in a similar position to the dash dance into the nair read that I was talking about. I've definitely been manipulated a bunch of times by Marths who are like down tilt, short hop nair when they read my jump or whatever. But I feel like sometimes I feel like the down tilt just makes you like. I think basically down tilt's really good as long as you keep moving. I think just don't get stuck too much like in one, like creating one specific range of like tipper down tilt and then down tilting or something. And also if you look at Zane Jmook, like he got down tilted at like 190 again, like in this last set, like literally again, and grabbed him out of it. So it's like down tilt is like a necessary evil, but it's not like, oh man, my down tilt. Mostly because it doesn't give you anything. Like, like once again, I'm kind of in favor of like, I sort of lose this matchup, so I'm going for my rests. That's like sort of how I think about it. I don't really, if you just play nice and safe and solid and the perfect zoning game, like, yeah, how's that working out for all the Marths so far?
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So I think the punish is a really big one though, like keeping her in the air. I think that like up air up tilt thing is definitely going to be a big one, and like getting better at that situation in general.
Yeah. I agree.
But okay, I think that was a pretty good talk. I'm definitely not as experienced or good in this matchup on either side as I am at like Falco matchups, but it's an interesting one, and I think I really want you to get better at it so that I can get better at it.
I'll do
because right now I'm just like, here's all my stuff, like come back and make it harder and then I'll get better.
Definitely.
All right, sounds good, man. I think you already have my payment info. I can resend it if you want.
I can find it. If I can't find it, I'll message you.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Sounds good. I'll see you tomorrow, man.
Cool.
Peace.
See you then.